Namaste, everyone, and welcome to the webinar hosted by the American Academy of Yoga and Meditation. My name is Mamta, and I'll be your host today. AYM is a non-profit organization which is dedicated to promoting and spreading the philosophy of yoga and meditation. Through this webinar, we hope to spread amazing benefits that yoga has to people around the world. The topic for today's webinar is Yoga in Pregnancy and Garbha Sanskar. Garbha Sanskar means education in the womb. According to the yogic scriptures, the baby's personality begins to take shape in the womb, and this can be influenced by not only the mother's state of mind and health, but also her lifestyle during the pregnancy. Today, we will hear from some renowned speakers on this topic. Dr. Lata Venkataram, who is the faculty and research guide at S. Vyasa University, and she is a national expert on diabetes and pregnancy. Glad to have you, Dr. Lataji. Our second speaker is Dr. Apar Saoji. Dr. Aparji, who is a PhD in yoga, and he is a principal of the School of Naturopathy Medicine at S. Vyasa University. Welcome you, Dr. Aparji. Now I would like to take a moment and introduce our moderator of our meeting today, Dr. Nutan Pakre. Dr. Pakre, who is an Ayurveda doctor from Mumbai University. She has achieved her yoga proficiency from many different yoga schools. She trains students, including therapists, gynecologists, and teachers in yoga for prenatal and postnatal training and healing. She's also founder of AYG, which is Academy is dedicated to Ayurveda, yoga, and Garbha Sanskar. She has written a book called The Ultimate Guide to Garbha Sanskar. She has won many awards, including the National Women's Leadership Award and the Yoga Guru Award from the Government of India. I hope you all enjoy this beautiful webinar. Once again, I thank you so much for coming, and I will now pass it on to Dr. Pakre. Thank you and namaste.
Namaste and pranam to all of you. And first of all, I would like to offer my gratitude to my parents and this divine energy working behind this. So, thank you, Mamta and Anjali, for your kind introduction to this forum of American Academy of Yoga and Meditation. I feel enriched today with this opportunity to moderate this beautiful session and also celebrate International Day of Yoga with YogaCon USA 2021. Now, without much delay, I would like to introduce the fascinating topic today, that is Yoga in Pregnancy Garbha Sanskar. We have today here, as mentioned by Mamta, very eminent speaker and experienced master from India, Dr. Lata Venkatram and Dr. Parsauji. But before I introduce in detail to them, first let me introduce today's topic. The distinctive aspect of women's life is her ability to give birth. The Indian science or the Indian concept of Garbha Sanskar is traced back in Veda, Purana, and Upaveda. Let me share here that Garbha Upanishad is the 17th Upanishad which has been written by sage Paipaladi, which mentions the complete growth and development of the embryo in the womb. Also, there are many Ayurvedic scripture which says and written a lot about Garbha, Sharir, and Sanskar. Now, Garbha Sanskar has not been only popular or based on the stories in Puranas, like Abhimanyu, Prahlad, or sage Ashtavakra. It has also proven today, with an ample of scientific evidence behind it, that the effects of diet, discipline, and lifestyle followed by parents has a definite impact on unborn child in the womb. So let me make it very simple here by splitting this Garbha Sanskar word in two terms, that is Garbha and Sanskar. This is my pleasure to share this wonderful definition which has been mentioned by Acharya Charak in Charak Samhita Sharir Sthan, that Garbha means Shukra Shonita Jiva Sanyuge Tu Khalu Kukshi Gate Garbha Sangya. It means that the union of sperm, ovum, and soul together integrate inside the uterus that forms this embryo. And once that creation happened, after that, there is a lot of care and culture and nutrition needed. And the process of this whole adding value or virtue to the unborn child is sanskar. So Acharya Charak has mentioned the definition of sanskar in its Viman Sthan, that is sanskaro hi gunantar adhana. It means the process of addition of value to that unborn child is called sanskar. So the science which teaches about the programming of the child before and after conception to would-be parents through this application of Ayurveda, yoga, and contemporary science. So now let me introduce you today our first esteemed guest or speaker, Dr. Lata Venkatram, who will speak on pregnancy and contemporary science behind it. And she follows the very beautiful philosophy, that is, give the best to get the best. Dr. Lata Venkatram, namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
It's my honor to introduce you here on this global platform. So, little bit about you. There are a lot to say, and there are a lot of videos which are rightly available on YouTube. But here, I would like to say about Dr. Lata. Dr. Lata is a lead consultant at Rangadore Memorial Hospital, Bangalore. She is a faculty and research guide at S. Vyasa Dean University for Yoga. She was the past president of Bangalore Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She is also the national expert on diabetes and pregnancy. She is the president of RCOG Trust. She is a trustee and advisor at various NGOs. She has developed in 2017 and 18 mobile platform-based application which deals with antenatal, intrapartum, and postpartum care, which detects high-risk pregnancy, which is actually need of an hour. Her special interest lies in yoga in pregnancy and how to tackle this medical disorder which that pregnant women faces, like hypertension, obesity, and diabetes. Along with this, she is also dealing various vaginal surgeries and community obstetric issues. She has her publications in various reputed journals like Journal of Pediatric Adolescence and Gynecology, BJOG, and Menopause. And she has definitely has a lot of credits and awards for her work. And few of them are CNN, IBN India Positive Awards, UA Foxy Oration Awards, and the list goes on and on. So now I would like to welcome and hand over this session to Dr. Lata to share her knowledge and wisdom with us today. So over to you, Dr. Lata, ma'am.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Samskar is refining. So where does the refining start for a human being? Before conception, actually, and during pregnancy and after birth also. But the maximum refining happens in the intrauterine life, which actually none of us remember. So we want to give the best to get the best progeny. Just 1 second. Yeah, the slides are not moving. Yeah, just 1 second. Yeah, right. We pass more biological milestones before we are born and in the early few months of life than at any other times in our lives. So the hardware is fully manufactured in the intrauterine life and to a small extent in the postnatal life up to the probably age of 2. So 97 to 98% of what we call as epigenetics, genes are there, but the functioning of the genes is determined by the programming. So I think it's very, very important to know about the epigenetic modifications, which again depends on the maternal physical and mental health. And of course, spiritual health is the greatest dimension that India has provided. So how the first 9 months shape the rest of your life is a very, very important topic. So Garbha Samskar is such an important topic, and no single period in human development provides a greater potential for long range payoff. So I'm unable to, yeah. So the learning objectives are what we are going to learn today: pre-pregnancy care, importance of pre-pregnancy care, awareness of fetal programming, pregnancy care, postnatal care, implications for long-term health of the mother and also the fetus. So the menstrual cycle is a 28-day cycle, and yeah, usually even before the lady misses the period, the conception would have happened. So around day 14, 15, where the egg gets fertilized. Yeah. So what happens? The egg gets fertilized, and it is important to know that nearly 7 to 8 days after the egg gets fertilized, it gets implanted. So even before the lady misses the period, the early development would have taken place. So if you can see here, so before the lady misses the period, that is 4 weeks from the last period, the heart would have started beating. Early neurological development, the brain, spinal cord, central nervous system, heart, even the arms, legs, the buds, etc., would have started getting formed. So it is very, very important that this lady actually gives the best chance for the first cell, that is during the preconceptional period. She has to modify her lifestyle to welcome this particular individual into her womb. So, and also during implantation, lots of changes happen, and it depends on the hormonal and immune adaptations. Yoga has a very big role to play, because yoga is known to have an effect on the autonomic nervous system. So the consequence of disturbed or dysfunctional placentation is what causes all the problems during pregnancy, which has a great impact on the progeny. So it's very important to know that the preconceptional care, the Garbha Samskar, has to start much before, even before pregnancy. That is because she doesn't know when she is going to miss the period. By the time she misses the period, already the development would have started. So fetal programming, developmental origins of health and disease, fetal origin of the disease. Sorry about this slide. So it's very important to know that fetal origin of adult disease is what is manifesting as adult disease in future. So where do we start? Yeah, so whatever we see as NCD or the non-communicable diseases is what has happened in the womb. It is the tip of the iceberg that we see as lots of problems, metabolic problems, etc., in adult life, which would have started in the intrauterine life. So it's very important to say that NCDs, non-communicable diseases, are being traced back to the womb. The origin is in the womb. So if we have to make the individual healthy, we have to start the process very early in life, that is in the intrauterine life. The children of today are at risk of lot of immunological problems, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular problems, asthma, lung disease, learning disabilities, both mental and physical. Where do they all start? It is early environmental origins of disease, that is, it starts in the womb. So where do we need to start the samskar? The garbha samskar is so very important, because this period we cannot afford to miss, where we can have lot of influence on the fetal programming, again, which depends on the programming depends on the mother's health, both mental and physical. So it's so very important to know, if we have to give the best, it the unique opportunity is in pregnancy. So better maternal health, better fetal programming, better progeny. So, and if the offspring is good, they become better parents. So it perpetuates through generations, this wellness. That's why we say matra swasthyam, loka swasthyam. So if the mother is good, everything will be fine. So time for change. Where do we change? It is the lifestyle which has to change, especially prior to, in the preconception period, and also post conception, that is during pregnancy, it has to change. So implantation is the time where the baby starts getting programmed. So even prior to a missed period, and it is root for all pregnancy complications, trace back to the implantation period and trace back to all the adult diseases. So interventions in the perinatal period, garbha samskar, that is readiness for parenting, involving father and family, identifying high-risk mothers, and optimization of health is very, very important to get proper progeny. Especially Indians are known to be thin, fat Indians, and we at a lower BMI, we are going to have more problems with our health. So a obese lady can produce an obese child. Again, yeah, it can sort of produce lot of problems, not only during pregnancy, increased chances of fetal death, increased risk of metabolic abnormalities, increased risk of developmental abnormalities. And for the offspring, that is even in early life, the baby can be obese, it is at increased risk of diabetes, increased risk of blood pressure, etc., etc. So obesity, it begins in utero. So if the mother is obese, the baby is likely to be obese. So it is so very important that we actually come to ideal weight if we wanted quality progeny. We all know about PCOS, obesity, hyperinsulinemia. PCOS is a consequence of events which can be traced back to the womb. If the mother has been obese and if the child has been obese in utero, she can have a lot of problems. And this girl in adolescence can develop lot of issues, that is blood pressure, diabetes, even before she can get pregnant, and she will be more at risk for all complications of pregnancy and metabolic complications, consequences of PCOS. You know very well that they can develop diabetes early, and they can develop cardiovascular disease early, they can develop heart problems, cancers early. So all these can be traced back to the womb and the early childhood. Okay, so it's so very important that we take care of obesity even before she gets pregnant, and during pregnancy also she should not put on too much of weight. Preeclampsia, again, blood pressure during pregnancy, stress, and early implantation problems can cause preeclampsia, that's blood pressure during pregnancy, giving rise to premature deliveries and small babies, both of which can have long-term implications on mental and physical health of the progeny. So it is so very important to make sure that during pregnancy they are, I wouldn't say stress-free, they reduce the stress, look after themselves, give the best to themselves and to the baby. Gestational diabetes, very, very common, especially in Indian women of Indian origin, which can give rise to bigger babies, and also which can increase the type 2 diabetes. Even in adolescents, 17 times higher chances of type 2 diabetes, and also premature birth, which has long-term consequences, and also with lot of other issues for the mother, including premature, and not only prematurity, stillbirth, higher chances of sections, etc., etc. So if diabetes begets diabetes, if the lady is lady who is pregnant has diabetes, her daughter can become diabetic early in life, or son can become diabetic early in life. If the daughter becomes diabetic early in life, she perpetuates it through generations. So it's so very important that we take care of all these. Okay, stress, pregnancy is very physiological. When there is addition of stress, it can become pathological. It can be a cause for infertility in many couples, but many problems, starting from implantation problem, which can cause a lot of complications during pregnancy. Stress can play a major role. Now stress has become a major factor because of multitasking, nuclear families, lifestyle, and lots of Google information, and Google is the god now. So choices and choices and choices, you are so very confused what to do and what not to do. So it adds on to the stress so much. Effects of stress on the baby: physical effects, reduced birth weight, reduced size of the baby, delayed maturation, higher risk for certain diseases like diabetes early in life, and cardiac effects on the baby, enhanced blood pressure response to stress. See, intrauterine programming is so very important even to stress. So if the mother is at higher stress, the baby can be more prone for stress during its extrauterine life. Increased risk of coronary artery disease, developmental effects like impaired executive functions, that is cognitive function, and also higher immune activation, increased anxiety, increased behavioral problem, increased schizophrenia. All these are related to the mental stress, which can have a long-term implication on the quality of the offspring. So if the mother has anxiety, depression during pregnancy, and also poor nutrition or overnutrition, it can have a great impact on not only neurodevelopmental outcome and also physical outcome, but it can affect the quality of progeny very badly. So it's very important that these women who want to get pregnant look after both physical and mental health prior to pregnancy, during pregnancy, and also in the postpartum period. So we talk about lifestyle approach and life cycle approach. So pregnant women can perpetuate to the child, and the child perpetuates to its progeny. So it can go on and on through generations. Yeah. So if you want to give the best, if you want to have the best, give the best. What we are now is because of how we were in the womb. Okay, that's a profound statement, but we don't know anything about what happened in our womb. So it is so very important that we give the best. And if your pregnancy is healthy, it is best if your baby is born at 40 weeks. Because if you can look at the brain development at 35 weeks, look at the brain, and at 40 weeks how mature it is. It's so very important that we aim for a mature baby, because it is like a fruit which is fully ripe will separate itself from the stalk full of nectar. Similarly, the baby, when it is mature, it will separate itself from the mother and be ready to be delivered with fullest intelligence possible. So we should not be hurrying, and also we should encourage normal vaginal deliveries, because it matters a lot for gut bacteria, and it is so very important that we allow the baby to pass through the birth canal, because the microbiomes, the gut microbiomes which the baby acquires, uh, develop while going through the birth canal. So it's so very important. This doesn't happen when we remove the baby by cesarean section. So it matters a lot for immunity, gut immunity. Gut is the second brain. That is what has been said, and that has been what has been found. So gut health is most important, not only to prevent immunological problems, diabetes, etc., but also mental health issues. So children who are delivered by cesarean have actually lower, more prone for obesity, allergy, metabolic syndrome, and also link has been suggested between cesarean delivery and the risk of type 1 diabetes. And also they perform significantly below vaginally born children by up to a tenth of a standard deviation in national numeracy test scores, etc. So it's important that we stick to nature. And also, just to tell you that pregnancy provides a window of opportunity to see what the mother is going to be in the next 5-10 years. So if the lady develops diabetes during pregnancy, she is at 50% risk of developing diabetes in the next 5-10 years time. 50% of them develop diabetes. So if she has developed blood pressure during pregnancy, she can develop 50% of them can develop diabetes and hypertension during the next 5 to 10 years. So if only we can see what has happened in the during pregnancy, we should give more emphasis to modify their lifestyle to prevent all these diseases coming up. And of course, breast is best, best is breast. The mother benefits, the child benefits. Actually, the programming continues for the first 2 years of life, fetal programming, what we called as fetal programming. So it's very important the mother breastfeeds, and also it prevents her from cancer because of the epigenetic modifications in the breast tissue. So it is so very important that we encourage whatever is normal, natural for the mother and the baby. I don't want to go into the details of all these due to the paucity of time, but postpartum depression is becoming very common. Again, 80% of women can suffer from baby blues, but 15% of them can suffer from postpartum depression. And 8% of men can also be affected by that. So it's very important to recognize postpartum depression, because again, the baby bonding might be difficult and different. So I think we should keep our diet healthy. I think naturopathists will talk about the diet more than what I can, but a balanced diet, high in protein, high in low in sugars, and high in roughage, and also that is vegetables, fruits, etc. Yes, sattvic diet is very important. Yoga, I think it reduces, there are lots of publications which I'm not going into the details, reduces stress, anxiety, and depression, lesser pregnancy complications, higher birth weight, better chances of vaginal delivery, lesser analgesia during labor, and also lesser chances of instrumental delivery and section. So it's very, very important that we encourage women to practice yoga. So we have to plan the pregnancy properly in optimal health, optimal weight gain during pregnancy. Yoga in pregnancy is a must. Control of complications and also prevention of complications is done by yoga. There are publications, you can look them up. I just want to bring the concept rather than talk about the scientific evidence for this. So it is very, very important even to practice yoga during delivery, and because the levels of pain intensity is less with less analgesic requirement. As I said, frequency of labor induction was less, lesser duration of labor, higher number of normal deliveries. So very important that our own ancient science has to be used as a tool, the lifestyle modification tool, to maintain our mental and physical health. So stress reduction is very important. As I said, anything physiological, that is pregnancy is physiological, but when associated with stress, it can become pathological, that is disease like. So slow down, keep calm, be positive, take it easy, breathe, have fun, enjoy life, unplug, relax, meditate, smile, keep smiling. Okay, so very important. So it's if you want to have a best progeny, it's a lifestyle approach. If you are born as a healthy individual, you grow up as a healthy individual, you become good parents, and you give rise to better progeny, you have better health even during your later years of life. So if you want to have the best, give the best while in the womb. Go with nature. This pregnancy is something physiological. Every woman is designed to get pregnant and deliver normally most of the time. But I think it's so very important to promote a good fetal programming. Refining. Samskara is refining culture. There's so much of intrauterine learning happening. So I haven't touched upon that Pandora's box of intrauterine learning, but there's so much of intrauterine learning, so much of intrauterine programming, physical, mental, intellectual, spiritual development, which has been beautifully described in our ancient literature. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. I don't know whether I have exceeded my time. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lata ma'am. You have, covered most of the topic in very short time, and you have definitely maintained time limits also. So, like you, mentioned about this fetal oriented adult disorder, which has been coined by popularized by Dr. Barker.
That's right.
And yeah, and also there are a lot of let me just share here, our acharya has also mentioned a lot of those concepts
Absolutely.
in the scripture in the form of garbha upaghatkar bhav and garbhakar bhav. So that has not been so popularized. I feel so happy today being an experienced gynecologist, promoting and want this world to know and promote this garbha sanskara also in same way like ayurveda and yoga. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your
Thank you.
so much information and main wisdom regarding this obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and the impacts on the unborn child. Now I'm sure that our audience has been definitely learning a lot from you, and I would like to request our audience to put your questions in the chat box, comments box, or on the WhatsApp number which has been provided in the program link. So now before I invite next speaker, all our gratitude from the team of American Academy of Yoga and Meditation. Thanks, Dr. Lata, for her insight. So please, moving ahead here, would like to share a beautiful poem in Marathi, which I will definitely explain in your language. That बीज अंकुरे अंकुरे ओल्या मातीच्या कुशीत कसे रुजावे बियाणे माळराणी खडकात. Now it means a lot of things which is related to our next topic and our speaker. So it means that sprouting of the crops will be possible only with warm care and the nurturing. and it is not possible in the soil which contains stones and weeds. Now, India being the agriculture country, our Acharya has mainly related all those difficult concepts in easy language for the comprehension. So, related to conception, Acharya Sushruta has mentioned in the Sushruta Samhita about four important ingredients which needed to grow and develop this embryo from one cell to the 50 trillion cells that becomes the fetus over the period of 9 months in the mother's womb. So just now Dr. Lata has said so much things can be done in the intrapartum life. So here Acharya Sushrut has mentioned four important factors. The first one is the correct season, that is for correct time, fertile age of the couple, and the fertile seed of the couple, and the uterine condition, the normal uterine condition is very important. And last but not least, timely provision of healthy food and nutrition during pregnancy. So now I would like to invite Dr. Apar to speak on holistic care in pregnancy, which covers yoga, naturopathy, and diet. So before I hand over the session to very dynamic and cool speaker, Dr. Apar Sauji, let me say a little bit about him today. So Dr. Apar Sauji is actually taking ahead the legacy of his father, Dr. Avinash Sauji, which is about holistic lifestyle and diet and naturopath. So, Dr. Apar Sauji is a naturopath doctor and doctor of philosophy, and he is currently serving as the principal of S. Vyasa, Bangalore. He is also the physician in charge for Department of Rheumatology and Musculoskeletal Diseases at Arogyadham Holistic Healthcare Center, S. Vyasa. He is also a research guide for PhD students at S. Vyasa, AIMS, and Rishikesh. He has also served as an external moderator at the School of Natural Medicine at University of Cape Town, South Africa. His research interest lies in heart rate variability, autonomic physiology, effects of yoga and naturopathy in health, disease, and integrative medicine. He has numerous publications in reputed peer review journal and the various articles in official publications of NIMANS, SVASA, and National Institute of Naturopathy. So, without much delay, I would like to now hand over this session to Dr. Apar Sauji to share his insight on this holistic care during pregnancy. Namaskar, Dr. Apar. Welcome
Namaste,
to this.
Namaste, Dr. Nutan, and thank you so much for your generous words. In fact, I am overwhelmed that I'm talking after one of my mentors, Dr. Lata, and it's an experience that we just had. I have a newborn at home, and my wife underwent through the whole process of pregnancy, and it is so very relevant that we're talking of Garbha Samskar and doing things actively to ensure that the child and the mother both remain healthy. So I think I will try talking. Dr. Lata spoke of the science of Garbha Samskar. My part would be probably talking of the technology. How do you implement those things? And that is probably what I will do. I'm just going to share my screen with you all. Sorry, I think. Can we have the screen, please? Yeah. So during my talk, I would like to touch upon a little on yoga, naturopathy, and food. which are most important concepts and required things for Garbha Samskar. Basically, whenever we talk of pregnancy, we talk of a lot of health problems. Even when Lata ma'am was talking, she was mentioning about so many health issues that can happen. But pregnancy is a very, very natural process. It's a physiological process, but a very challenging one because there are so many changes that happen physically, mentally, within the mother, in the baby, and therefore the role has to be to assist the expected mother and the baby in the physical and mental well-being, and to prepare the mother for the best pregnancy outcome, and to help her adjust in the dramatic changes during pregnancy. And for that, there are several things that we can do holistically. Of course, these have to be done in consultation with your consultant obstetrician or gynecologist for sure. Additionally, there are so many health issues that are associated with pregnancy. Some of them definitely were mentioned by Madam, but there are minor things like morning sickness, fatigue, constipation. These are very simple things, but they can bother the pregnant lady a lot, and that can lead to a lot of stressful situation during pregnancy. So for all these, there can be a lot of help with the holistic approach of yoga, naturopathy, and diet. So to begin with, I would start talking with the yoga, and for the convenience, I've just divided the three phases of pregnancy into three trimester. Essentially because the way you approach to yoga practices is going to be slightly different in each trimester. The first and third trimester are usually the most difficult ones for the mothers, and therefore the practices also have to be different when it comes to these three. So essentially, the reason why we would like to have yoga in the first trimester is to strengthen the mind-body connection, like what just now Lata ma'am was mentioning, that a lot of changes happen even before the first period is missed. And there has to be this connect. Yoga is nothing but to connect, and that connect also connects the mother with the baby, and that sets the ball rolling. It may provide relief from pain and possible symptoms. A lot of symptoms can occur during the first trimester. Yoga can be a good physical activity, which is very much required. And a lot of times, due to psychological impact, due to the hormonal changes, there can be sleep pattern disturbances during the first trimester, as well as in the third one. So that can be helped by performing yoga. But while we are doing yoga, it is very, very important that we avoid anything that is strenuous, any extreme bendings, anything that is hyperventilatory or putting pressure on the tummy, and we avoid in the initial part, certain backward bending postures and advanced asanas. They must be avoided. Because if you're looking at Google, and again, Lata ma'am was mentioning about it, Google can show you pregnant ladies doing Shirshasana, but that may not really be a good approach of doing yoga for pregnancy. So you will have to probably consult and understand what yoga practices are best for you. These outline of yoga practices are rather to help you understand, these can be the basic guidelines. So we have to ensure that the pelvic muscles are strengthened, and for that we've got different kinds of asanas like Baddha Konasana here. We have got Marjarasana, Viparita Karni, maybe with wall support, can be very, very useful, because a lot of times the venous drainage from the legs is impaired during pregnancy because of the compression that happens due to uterine growth. So all of those can be very, very useful. A nice stretch in Tadasana or Virabhadrasana, also Marjarasana. So all these practices could be very, very useful during the first trimester. The pranayama and meditation remains common throughout the pregnancy. You go ahead with something that is calming, soothing, comforting. So meditation, relaxation practices are very useful. Nadi Shuddhi, Chandra Vedana Pranayama, Chandra Anuloma Viloma, Brahmari could be very useful practices during pregnancy. Now, during the second trimester, most of the symptoms kind of reduce for most women, and that is where we have to focus on strengthening. And this is the time that we utilize for making sure that the muscles of abdomen are strong, muscles of pelvis are strong, and therefore the practices are aimed at that. You've got side lying, leg raising, Virabhadrasana, Trikonasana, um, Urdhvastasana, Tadasana, all those practices which are basically focusing on the lower abdomen as well as pelvis, strengthening asanas are used during that. During the third trimester, this is again when most of the symptoms come back, and that is because the uterus grows, the baby grows, and that is where there can be leg swelling, there can be discomfort, heartburn. So yoga practices can be very useful even there, and we do have practices which will help in reducing back pain, reducing the swelling on the feet, etc. So all those things are definitely going to be useful. But the benefits of yoga practices are not just limited to the physical benefits that I'm talking about. It is about connecting and realizing your body. It is internalizing yourself, and that is where the strength of yoga lies. And it is definitely going to be much, much beneficial. Dr. Lata was just mentioning about several studies. There are about 200 plus research publications on yoga and pregnancy. Out of them, about 75 plus clinical trials and systematic reviews tell us that yoga can be considered as a safe practice in pregnancy. A lot of times we are apprehensive about whether to do it, not to do it. If done with proper caution, listening to the body, not doing any extreme postures or not doing any adventures yoga practices, yoga can definitely be a very safe practice which will enable the maternal and birth outcomes to be in a better way. So even in high risk pregnancy, Dr. Lata has guided a lot of people in our institution to do their PhDs in high risk pregnancies where the birth outcomes are extremely good. And that is where yoga practices can be very, very useful. Again, Madam was talking about the stress, anxiety, depression. So psychological functions can be enhanced. There can be enhanced mood, better autonomic functions, and the hormonal status within the pregnant ladies. And all these changes that happen within the expected mother are also reflected in the baby. So all these are going to definitely benefit the baby, like the birth weight is going to be better, and also the vaginal deliveries are going to be there, inducing the gut microbiome, the healthy gut microbiome in the baby. So all those could be positive impact of yoga during pregnancy. Now switching to naturopathic management. Naturopathy can be used very well for symptom management. Of course, the diabetes and hypertension in pregnancy can actually be managed a little bit with yoga, but it may require medications as well. But the minor symptoms, which are very distressing a lot of times, can be managed well with naturopathy. Nausea and vomiting, which is experienced by more than 80% of the pregnant women, can be managed well with simple remedies like ginger tea or aromatherapy using peppermint or lemon oil. There is a small acupressure point near the wrist called as Niguan. Just gentle pressure on that can be helpful in reducing the vomiting as well as nausea. Slow breathing techniques, pranayama, can be very useful. Drinking enough water can be a very good way of tackling the nausea and vomiting. Small frequent meals and avoid drinking in between the meals can be very, very useful. Constipation and bloating is another major issue, although may not be medically as relevant as, say, preeclampsia or gestational diabetes, but it can be very distressing to the lady. And simple things like chewing food thoroughly, eating slowly, drinking plenty of fluids, eating high fiber diet, and I'll talk about food in just a while. You can have gentle massage to the abdomen, diaphragmatic breathing, exercising regularly like walking or yoga practices can be very, very useful. Fatigue is another common issue that happens during the first and third trimester specifically. Of course, it can happen during the second trimester as well. And resting, well, probably using yogic relaxation and meditations can be very well suited for fatigue. Of course, unprocessed diet is going to play a very, very important role. Making self-care a priority. A lot of times, pregnant ladies are juggling between the household chores and the work as well as their own health. So taking care of their own selves is very, very important. And things like sunbathing is very important because of the vitamin D that you can get out of it. Of course, it also induces a lot of hormonal changes within the body that can be reducing fatigue. Another symptom that can be experienced a lot by pregnant ladies is leg cramping, and very simple things like stretching the calf muscles, elevating the legs can be very useful. Staying hydrated, because a lot of times it can be because of the imbalance of the electrolytes. Choosing proper footwear, avoiding heels, all that can be very useful. A simple warm bath, ice massage, or a simple oil massage also can be very useful to take care of leg cramping. These simple things are definitely there, but a very, very important item on agenda during pregnancy has to be food. And not just during pregnancy, but even otherwise, it is a primary thing because of a simple understanding that we have from our Upanishads that we are all born from food and we are made of food. Food is what nourishes us, and that is where we go back. And that is considered to be the greatest of the elements and greatest of the remedies. And therefore, the Taittiriya Upanishad calls the physical body as Anna, Annamaya Kosha. And that is why we have to take care of our food. But going beyond, the beauty of Indian understanding of food doesn't just lie with the nutrition part of it. It goes much, much in subtler way, which says, Chandogya Upanishad says that the coarsest part of your food is removed out as feces, the subtler part becomes your flesh, and the subtlest part becomes your mind. And that is where the concept of, you are what you eat comes in. Your mind is what you eat. And that is why, again, Lata ma'am was mentioning about sattvic food. It is very, very important that we choose the right kind of food even during pregnancy. Of course, each time you're eating something, you're either feeding a disease or fighting it, and therefore, again, the chances of gestational diabetes to, the entire cycle that she was talking about, the obesity leading to obesity, all of that can be controlled if we are able to control our foods. So least processed, more natural food has to be consumed throughout pregnancy. So what to eat when you're expecting and even otherwise? The simple things would be to eat seasonal, to eat regional food, things that are not processed, a balanced food which has all the components. We do not want to just emphasize on fats or proteins because the mother is having the baby growing in her, but overall you require a lot of phytonutrients like the vitamins, the minerals, which are very, very important to process the major nutrients that we take. Of course, if possible, vegetarian food and the sattvic food is the concept that we talk about in yoga. Now, what is sattvic food? In Bhagavad Gita, the explanation of it says, Ayu, Sattva, Bala, Arogya, Sukha, Priti, Vivardhana. So it is the one that raises the longevity, health, purity, cheerfulness, and the harmony between mind and body. So it is not just important for the pregnant lady, but also for the baby. If you want the baby's longevity, health, purity, cheerfulness, all of that to be maintained, you need to consume sattvic food when you're pregnant. And what is the kind of food that we're talking about? It is fresh, it is natural, has a natural taste, relatively bland, not too many spices, not too many ingredients into it. It is wholesome food, nourishing, vegetarian, and easy to digest. So the foods that should be minimized is Rajasic food. Now, what are the foods that are Rajasic? These are foods that will increase sensuality, aggressiveness, energy, desire, restlessness, etc. And now, uh, just to give you an example, probably coffee. The moment you take 1 cup of coffee, you are energized, but you take 4 cups of coffee, you start feeling restless. And this is the kind of food that you would like to avoid, because you don't want too much of stimulation during pregnancy. So please avoid too spicy, oily, sour, bitter, pungent, uh, extremes of tastes or flavors, stimulants during pregnancy. Definitely something that must be avoided is tamasic kind of food that promotes lethargy, dullness, and tiredness. Typically, it is fermented, processed, overripe, packed, preserved, non-vegetarian food. The moment you know we have all these kinds of foods, we are going to be tired, and it is going to be troubling. Madam was just mentioning about dietary fibers, and it is going to be very, very important for controlling the glucose absorption, thereby preventing gestational diabetes, healthy regular bowel movements, preventing constipation, restricting the calorie intake. You don't want too much of calories to be taken by anybody, and it promotes healthy gut microbiome. The foods and beverages to be avoided during pregnancy: dairy products should be minimized. Of course, milk is good, cow milk is good. Ayurveda also talks about it, ghee can be taken, but you don't want too much of dairy products like cheese, the processed ones should be avoided. Uh, Raw sprouts should be avoided. If you want to have sprouts as a source of proteins, probably steaming them is going to be a good way of doing it. Seafood, too much of it should be avoided. Raw eggs must be avoided. Sugars, alcohol, caffeine must be avoided. So these things are definitely a no-no, and that will help in having a good health during pregnancy. Madam was talking about the lifestyle changes, and it is very, very important, because we are not sick when we are pregnant. It is very important that we understand that this is a healthy situation and you want to promote health. And taking charge of your own health is through the lifestyle changes, promoting healthy habits like exercising regularly, doing yoga, relaxation, taking good diet, being in good mood, exposing yourself to sunlight are all some good things that you can do. Of course, maintaining proper hygiene, regular routine, sleeping in time, having food in time, regular exercises, all that is going to be very important. Also, you can read good books. Again, the story of Abhimanyu is known, where, during pregnancy, when he heard the story, he learned the war strategies when he was in the womb. And therefore, what mother is thinking, what mother is reading, what mother is experiencing definitely impacts the baby. And therefore, the mother has to experience good things. And of course, it is also said that you should create bonding with the baby, probably talk to your baby while you're bathing yourself, etc. So all these small little things can make a big difference in the pregnancy and the outcomes of it. Thank you so much. I hope I have not taken too much of time during the session and also helped in talking about what exactly needs to be done during the pregnancy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Apar Saoji. Definitely, you haven't taken much time and very well explained all the holistic approach which that pregnant woman should be taken ahead for the enjoying her motherhood. Although this pregnancy and childbirth are biological process and natural process, but still it comes with a lot of anxiety, fear, and lack of awareness and the knowledge is the root cause of all the problems which may comes over the period of her pregnancy and childbirth. So I guess you have covered, just to summarize in the end, that you have talked about yoga, which is the trimester wise which practices should be done, during first trimester, during second trimester and third trimester. I remember while watching your presentation that I have written in my book also this trimester wise, 3S module, which says about that stability is very important part in the first trimester, right? So the stability of this child and the mother adapting each other, this gives rise a lot of fluctuation, physiological fluctuations, and that's why stability, the yoga practice, which is not only exercise but it accommodates diet also, which you have very well explained as a naturopathic way, and the ayurvedic points which you have extracted, like sattvic diet has been given a lot of importance during pregnancy. And it's not only the responsibility of that woman, but equally the man who is actually equally responsible, should be maintained by him also, taking care of this pregnancy and the child. So that you have covered about the diet. So the second, what I was saying, that the first trimester is stability related practices should be inculcated. Then the second trimester should be more focused on the strength oriented. So to you have mentioned about Marjarasan, Virasana, Pranayama practices, which actually build a lot of confidence in that pregnant woman. And pregnant woman is also able to cope up with all that fluctuation very strong and ready to face the third trimester stage. Actually, it's a refinement stage where there is baby and mother both tries to find out space, right? So so the third module which I have written is about space module, which in which way you have rightly said about the pranayama practice, meditation practice. And there are a lot of studies which says actually childbirth process itself is a meditative process, because it during that process oxytocin comes in the blood circulation, right? So we have enough evidence of how this meditation also increase the level of this oxytocin. So this childbirth is a natural meditative process for that pregnant woman. So having said that, you have even included about the naturopathic point of view, sunbathing, taking care of the whole diet, and Taittiriya Upanishad, which reference mention about we are what we eat. And beyond that, actually it's about the digesting this food, right? So not only the food, yes, food has been given lot of importance even in Ayurveda and all our Indian scripture. So food related to mental diet also, physical diet, mental diet, and spiritual diet, where you have mentioned about the book reading and sattvic, satsang, listening positive words, positive action to be implemented. So I think you have well covered this whole approach for the enjoying this motherhood and the healthy childbirth. So thank you so much. So I would like to now, take some questions if this time permits, uh, with Dr. Lata and Dr. Apar, if both are available here. Yeah. Uh, so Dr. Lata, can you hear me? So before Dr. Lata will join us, Dr. Apar, what exactly you have mentioned about this, the whole point of naturopathy Ayurveda? What is your take on this, the process of this childbirth? That the last time, what that pregnant woman should, think of last minute eating something, when the labor pain starts, because that time there is nothing like to focus on anything. So, what is your take on this?
I mean, there are cravings there. Uh, These are things that happen because of the hormonal changes, of course. But whatever you're eating, you have to eat healthy. Even if you are craving, a lot of times it should not be creating another problem just because you want to eat something. So that is going to be a very important factor in what the food is all about.
Okay, so while that woman is going through the the process of labor pain, how can she identify that the true and false pain? Here we have Dr. Lata who can definitely guide in this particular question.
Yeah,
So
true pain is when the tummy gets hard with every pain that she gets, and it becomes more frequent and more intense. Okay, so it keeps on building up, and there can be other symptoms like show, that is blood stained mucousy discharge, or sometimes they can break their waters. So, or there can be more of, I mean, sometimes there can be bleeding also. So if any of these happen, that means it is true pain. The true pain will build. Okay, it will progress. False pains don't progress. That's the main thing. Yeah, it is not the site of pain. For example, people say that it should come from the back and spread to the front, lower abdomen, and things like that. Need not happen. So it's the contractions, that is tummy going tight with every pain, and increasing in duration and frequency.
okay, thank you so much, Dr. Lata, for your answer. Now, I would like to ask Dr. Apar regarding fasting, because just now we have been discuss about obesity, diabetes. Lot of time, these are the problems which faced by that pregnant woman. So that time, many times cravings are also there. At the same time, they try to control their weight. So, what is your take on, do they fast, or do they just, how to cope up with these conflicts?
I think one of the things that should be done is like what Lata ma'am was mentioning, pregnancy is not just starting with the implantation, it is way before you plan the pregnancy. And that is where weight management is going to be very, very important. Probably managing obesity prior to starting your pregnancy journey is going to be very important, and that is where you can actually reduce on calorie intake and all of that. But I would not really recommend absolute fasting during pregnancy. I would rather say, even if you want to go for fasting, it has to be with some amount of calories that you should be taking, and it should not be for a prolonged duration. And therefore, I think that is how it would be. And the meaning of fasting, it's very beautiful when it comes to the Sanskrit word that describes fasting. It is upavasa, to stay with yourself. So it's not just you skip some food and you eat some food. That's not how fasting is supposed to be. It is supposed to be a total rest of your physical level, at your physiological level, at sensory and mental level. Only then you're fasting. So the concept of pratyahara that is spoken in yoga is a very, very important one. You're not just stopping from eating something, but you're rather controlling your senses from the objects that they are. So it is very important that you do fasting, but probably not in terms of reducing your calories drastically during fasting. Rather, the fasting has to be a spiritual experience during pregnancy, where you connect with yourself, with nature or God, whatever your concept is. So that should be what upavasa should be, and not just skipping food. That's
Very
not the right
nicely.
way
Yes,
of
yes,
doing
I completely agree what you said. Actually, thoughts, words, and action, these three things should be aligned. That is what yoga means, right? And very well, explain that upavasa word, which is staying near to self. And that is even the pregnancy is the same thing, mother is getting birth actually. Here we say that lot of time, mother gives birth to the child, but it's opposite. Child actually gives birth to mother, right? So now taking this discussion ahead with there are many yoga teacher who actually does this prenatal yoga nowadays in western, and so many people are many attracted towards learning this science, but there are less people who actually focus on main authentic teaching of prenatal education. So I would like to ask this question to Dr. Lata. Do you think that the prenatal education of women and couple is at most important, which is not very commonly done, and many people not much even aware? Even health professional, yoga teacher are not aware about what practices to be given in the first month, second month, third month, and so on, which will facilitate that mother for the normal pregnancy and manage those anxiety and the conflict. So, what kind of prenatal education you think, ma'am, to be promoted more?
I think it is a very important question. The awareness should be brought to any married couple. Okay, anybody who is planning for parenting. So there is a movement called Supraja, okay, in India, which is becoming more popular now. Pune is a big center, and Bangalore also is becoming a hub. We are actively participating. So I think it's very important to educate the couple who are married to how to plan pregnancy and why fetal programming, even from preconception period, that is before they miss the period, is such an important thing. So education, wide awareness, okay, through e-media is very important for the couple. That's what I would say. And
Yes.
giving, yeah, yogic practices, I think prenatal yoga is prenatal and pregnancy yoga are becoming very popular. They are specialized areas of expertise, so people should be more trained in that, and there are certificate courses for prenatal yoga, pregnancy yoga, and also intrapartum period also is very important to do yoga to promote vaginal births.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, it is also need of even engaging gynecologists and obstetrician in this particular education,
Yes.
because they are the people where actually this pregnant woman approaches, and if they advises yoga practice, then only they will come to yoga teacher and yoga consultant also. So
Mm-mm.
this kind of systematic approach is the need of an hour to produce that immune and healthy child, I think, in future, whatever you are looking for and you advised here.
Yeah,
So
very important. Integrated approach should, I mean, we should form a platform of integrated medicine. Okay.
yeah.
So otherwise, people have difference of opinions which never gets ironed out.
Over.
So I think
Correct.
it's very important. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
that's
there are a
very,
lot of
yeah,
questions, yeah,
yeah.
coming up. People are enjoying our session, and due to lack of time, I may not be able to take all, but yes, few questions which is related to this meditation. There is one important question which is there in the comment box, that can meditation focusing on Anahata and Ajna Chakra be effective during pregnancy? So, any one of you can answer this question. Uh,
Ma'am, I would be happy to listen to you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know whether there are any studies, okay, but Anahata, Agna Chakra, I mean, I don't know what special effect, probably Dr. Nagratna might have been a better person to answer, but I don't think there are any studies on that.
True.
Okay.
to say
Any
that.
any form of meditation. I mean, I
Meditation is
would,
fine.
yeah, anything that relaxes you, anything that calms you down, makes you more aware of yourself, should be good. That is what my take on that question would be.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is actually these all those technique will definitely impact on HPO axis, that is hypothalamus pituitary gland and the organs. So all our system will get activated, I guess, when we practice this meditation. And I think this is all.
Neurotransmitters, sorry, can I just share a small thing?
Yes.
Please.
Neurotransmitters in the brain are very important, and also
Yes.
there are gut transmitters also. So that's why it's called as a second brain. So ahara and vichara are very, very important. Any stage of our life, it's very important. And another small interesting thing, we had done a study way back in 94 in UK. Whichever portion of the maternal cortex brain is stimulated, similar portions of the fetal brain is also stimulated on fMRI, functional MRI. So it's very important. So if the meditation is giving her a lot of relaxation and probably stimulating the right neurotransmitters, hopefully that should be so in the fetus also. So that should be happening in the fetus also. Programming,
That's
helping the
really
programming.
wonderful information you have shared
Yeah.
here. And what you said, that ahar and vichar, similar concept has been even said in Ayurveda, that is ahar
Yeah.
nidra and brahmacharya, that is diet, discipline and lifestyle. I usually say like this, this ahar nidra and brahmacharya, which is very important tripod to maintain this balance, which gives you joy in the end. So yes, I think our questions has been ended. There is one question on WhatsApp. What exactly diet you recommend, Dr. Apar, for morning sickness?
Well, it will vary because the intensity of morning sickness varies in different people. But things like ginger, things like simple herbs like pepper, those could help. But non-stimulating things, relatively bland things, are going to be very important. And taking good amount of water, fluids, that is going to be important. And sometimes it can also be certain foods can trigger morning sickness. To avoid those, identifying and avoiding those foods are also going to be important.
Yes, yes, very good.
Mm,
So just
and
to,
also,
yes,
sorry, if I can add
yes,
from
yes,
Alapati,
ma'am,
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
yes,
see,
ma'am.
ma'am.
what, even if you feel like puking, I think you eat. And if you puked, doesn't matter. Okay, you eat again so that the system listens to you. Okay, and you don't promote, I mean, you prevent gastritis by feeding yourself. I wouldn't say frequently because there are different concepts now. So I think even if somebody is having morning sickness, I think it is important. They can even do Vamandavati to just cleanse their tummy, cleanse their stomach. It is better to drink a couple of glasses of water and just vomit out. In couple of days time, I mean 3-4 days, usually it settles down, even the morning sickness, with this Vamandavati technique.
But ma'am,
Important.
means student may ask that Vaman Dhoti, while doing that Vaman Dhoti, there will be, strain will be on tummy.
No,
So
not
if
really. We
not
don't have to
really,
worry.
okay,
We don't have to worry.
okay,
Pregnancy
okay,
won't wither off like that. It won't
okay,
just come
okay,
out.
okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Devi.
So there is, the factor which says that, when you have to undergo all those therapy, whatever we have mentioned in this particular session regarding pregnancy, it has to be, under your medical guidance, under your local doctor guidance, consultant, because many things we share on the social platform, patient should not be directly, start following it. It is needed that the personal care, personal consultation, because every body is different, every pregnancy is different, every pregnancy in one woman, even that woman is delivering child twice, thrice, each pregnancy is also having different, whole scenario. So it is advised to all the women to, to go under the personal guidance and go ahead with the all this application of yoga, diet, and the Ayurvedic and modern science benefits. So here we are, ending this our beautiful session, which is, take home message. A lot of take home message is there, that the calm mind of can give the healthy baby. Saumanasya garbhadharana, or the mind and muscle, how they are related. So the practice of yoga definitely has an impact on that calming mind, and that mother will be calm, and the same has been received by that baby. So immune baby and the supraja is the future if we follow this garbha sanskar. With this, I just forward this session to Mamta. Thank you, sir, and
Thank
thank you,
you.
madam, for your wonderful
Thank you so
insight on
much.
this topic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for wonderfully moderating this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for the opportunity given. Wonderful.
Wow.
I enjoyed participating. Thank you.
Wow,
Same
what
here.
an amazing session. I love Dr. Lataji, your slogan, give the best to get the best. It is very
Right.
surprising to know that sanskara happen even before conception, and how the first 9 months of baby's life shape the baby's whole life. It is great to know how the mother's lifestyle affects the baby. What a great science behind this. Dr. Aparji, you said that yoga connects the mother with the baby. What a great relationship is formed from the womb itself between mother and child. Amazing to know that. It is also very interesting to know that how our diet plays a major role in the development of the fetus. You are what you eat. That's what you said. I mean, I completely agree with it. I also loved your coffee analogy. It is very easy to understand that everyone has tried drinking multiple cups of coffee, and everyone has undergone the same experience, what you described just now. Thank you so much, Dr. Nutanji, for the amazing moderation. Your moderation perfectly connected Dr. Lataji's talk on the physiology and to Dr. Aparji's guidance on yoga and food. What a wonderful session. I would also like to thank our team, tech team, Sagarji and Shrutiji, without whom this webinar wouldn't have been possible. I really appreciate Dr. Aparji, Dr. Lataji, and Dr. Pakhre to come in this webinar and give us this knowledge. Our next webinar for our viewers today, it is on yoga for chronic pain. It will start in few minutes. Visit our website AAYM and you will get the more details. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to all our viewers around the world. See you all very soon. Namaste.